Okay, Daf Chof Aleph from the Beis Masech Beya. The first Mishnah Bishamai Oimri. The next sugya, the next Mishnah is there's two Simonim Shulchan Aruch. Now the Rebbe said we have the Shulchan Aruch also Tov Kuf Yud Aleph. Var Havore Ul Hichom Yimayim Mutu B'Yomtiv, lighting a fire, Havore, and also cooking up water if it's Mutu Yomtiv. This is Tov Kuf Yud Aleph. One can take a look over there. Koshalach L'Maiseh. And also Tov Kuf Yud Dalid, it's about Shalei L'Chabis. One should not put out, extinguish a fire on Yomtiv. When one is allowed to, L'Torich Oichel, will be also in the next sugya. So maybe we'll look into the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, but you should know that Allah L'Maiseh, we can look into Shulchan Aruch and we have to the Alter Rebbe. Says the Mishnah, Beishamai Oimrim, Beishamai say, Lo Yachem Adam Chamin L'Raglov, a person should not warm up water for his feet, to clean his feet. Ella im came, only if Ru'uyin L'Shasiya, only if the water is fit to drink. The Pashat Pshat Ru'uyin L'Shasiya means not that you actually want to drink from it, or not that you actually are going to drink from the L'Payil, but it means it's fit, it's drinking water. It's hot, but it's drinking water. Tesis will clarify that's not the Pshat. The Pshat is that mamish, you have to want and planning to take a drink the water, and you have to even drink a little bit of it, and then you could use the rest for your feet.
So you're not allowed to take a shower? I mean, unless you're going to drink.
Same. So yeah. Sure.
So
to cook up water, take a shower. You have to have some pasuk. And here it says also. It says
so the Taylor was only matter for us.
This is Bisham. It's Bisham. This is Bisham. Next is Bishil. It's not so pasuk. We'll smell them. But it says Yodov, Raglov. Achrein we speak about it, then it means also his hands. I'll Rabbi even add that the Taz, Ponov Yodov Raglov. So we have the term Ponov Yodov Raglov, even though here it says only Raglov. But it's mentioned also the other, but not opposed to the whole entire body. We'll get into it.
A baby that has an accident.
So Shulchan Aruch mentions about a baby, yeah? And we'll see also even the tastes over here. When is one allowed to? But let's see. The Bishami says you're not allowed to. He still says you could. The question is, could we go ahead and take showers now? And warm. First of all, there's two things: is warming up the water, and even if it's pre-warmed before Yom Tov, it was cooked before Yom Tov, is also a problem. Let's learn the Mishnah. So Bishami says one is not allowed to cook. What's the malacha? The sound. So Rashi says l'chayred could be a malacha here of what? Of havara. Havara is to light a fire. What's about bishul? There could be two problems. First of all, if you have an existing fire and you put a pot of water on top of the fire in order to wash your feet, there would be a problem of bishul, not havara. If you do both, you have a problem of both. If you light a fire and you put up the pot, so the Shoyim and Acharim speak about this Nikuda here. What is the Malach was speaking about? We'll see what Ashi says in a moment. Bishamai says one is not allowed to cook up water on Shabbos if it's not for drinking purposes, only if it's royal l'shasiyah. Only if you're able to drink. Hil Martinez said you're allowed to cook up water just to be able to wash your feet. The last case of the Mishnah the Gemara will discuss is this l'kula alme or only bis hilal. Oisa adam medura umischamim kenegda. A person is allowed to make a medura, a large fire, like he could ignite the fire in his fireplace in order to be warm around it. You're allowed to do this on Shabbos, on Yom Tov. The shaila is this bishami bis hilal. What's the difference also? So this is a little bit different than before. Before, you're only having hana, one chelik of your body. Your hand, your feet, your face. Eichel nefesh in definition means when you eat something, what gains? What do you benefit?
Your whole body.
Your whole body. That's number one. So eichel nefesh means eichel your whole body, and here it's individual ivarim. When you're making yourself warm in front of a fire, what benefits over here? Your whole body. So this is also just to understand the difference between these two inyanim. But now we have this machlekes. Look into Rashi. Rashi says in the first Mishnah, Lo yochim odom chamim lirchetz raglov, to wash his feet. He says, Oichel nefesh hitir hakosuf. The pasuk was matir to us oichel nefesh. The loy lahavir ur b'shvil rechitze. He says, right, lahavir, speaking about havara. You should say loy levashel ur b'shvil rechitze. But I should say havara. Yep. But not, you should go ahead and light a fire for what? For the chitz, which is not oichel nefesh, it's something else.
And for light, candle, I need to see. I'm allowed to. And that's not Eichel Nefesh.
Very good shaila. And Bechlal we had already machlekes before. Meteich shehutra l'tzayrech, hutra shaloi l'tzayrech. This will be discussed.
I think the halacha is b'Bishil.
Yeah, sure, not b'Bishil. But shaila is even b'Bishil. Is it a green light to do everything? No. So this is what they're doing. So these are all things to think about, right? We have the rule of mitoich, so it was mentioned before already. Also, Rashi mentions just lahavir. Why can I say lahavir or lavashel? Depends what he's doing here. He's doing two malachas l'chayda. But b'shvil rechitza, Shami says rechitza is not called eichel nefesh, only eichel nefesh. What is Madura? The last case in Madura is a hesed, a large fire. Right? You're allowed to do it. Let's look at the taste in the bottom. Taste is shot in Bishamai. Lo yochim odom chamin. Taste in the bottom, right? The last taste in the bottom. Lo yochim odom chamin elim kein ru'uy l'shesiya. It's only fit. It means only fit for drinking. In fact, there's a vim taimar me'ezet tam shoru bishilel. Bishilel does no Bishamai. Bishamai does allow you to cook in order if it's ru'uyin. Even if it just fits for drinking, it's drinking water. He doesn't hold the rule mitoich. For one thing, if you're actually cooking it for drinking, of course you could cook water to drink, and leftover water you could use for something else. Or even you could even cook more, because we had the psuki before of ribud b'shiyurim. You could add more if you're already cooking. There's no extra tirche. We had that before already. So fine, the Sham will allow that, but say just the fact that's roy to be drunk, it means you're allowed to. So therefore, Tyson says no, it's not b'shat. Yishleima the mighty kegoyim sheshoyser. He's taka drinking. That's dumb. He has to actually drink from it. And he's adding more water for the purpose of washing his feet. That's only the concept of marbe b'shiurim, and that's allowed. So today's the pshat with the mishnah is not ru'uyin. What?
That was with one effort.
Huh?
That's with one effort. You're not able to add water to the pot, but as you put on enough water to begin with, you're okay.
Right, and then we had in the other sugis if you could even add later, if it's not an extra tirch or not.
Okay.
It's a sugi of ribu b'shiurim. Add if you shoot him back.
Okay,
but that's allowed if it's not. There's no other tirchas about you can be married b'shiurim, and that will be fine. So v'hachi isa bahadi b'Yerushalmi. So taken Yerushalmi, it's clear. It doesn't say ru'uyin. It says a mamish to drink. Not just you want to drink, but you have to actually drink. Bizhil says mutter. This is a dafke l'raglov. This is very important. The kudah pasha even loch l'maisa. Dafke l'raglov. Aval l'chol gufay. Moide the asur. Whose moide is hillel. So very loch l'maisa already. This doesn't something when you get to life because of Bizhil is moide. He only says you can go and cook up water for your feet, your hands, or your face, but you can't go cook up water to be able to wash your whole body. Why not? Yeah. Because that's called something the dover hashove l'chol nefesh ba'inon. Very important rule. It has to be a something shove l'chol nefesh. Every person needs to wash their feet. Definitely. Feet is always washed. You have to do it. So therefore, this hillel that allows you this hanoah, he considers that also oichel nefesh tzorich k'tas, because you didn't have it for your hanoah pleasure, but only your feet. The hands and face, this is something common. However, your whole body, who washes the whole body all the time? It's not called travel chol nefesh. And the rule is, munogim are people that are for lashon oinig, very delicate people, or like mefunik, meunig. They need to indulge in, they need to really be, they can't stand a little bit dirt. It is a munogim. And that's not the majority of people. So therefore, the rule is going to be anything that is shav l'chol nefesh, Bizhil will say, is allowed. Therefore, feet is shav l'chol nefesh, you're allowed. Avo yodav, raglav, taste already adds yodav. Mishnah says raglav, the first, we have already addition, adding yodav, also shav l'chol nefesh. Interesting, just something to think about, not l'chol ma'aseh. Today, that l'payil, everyone, no one washes just their hands and feet. Most people take showers every single day, and they wash their entire body every single day. Could we say today that it's called shav l'chol nefesh, to even cook up water to wash your entire body? It comes to the 9 days also. It speaks about, and even in Shulchan Aruch, about someone's umafunik, because someone's very delicate and needs to have, so he's maybe allowed to wash, and therefore some Rishonim that we today, we're used to everyday showering, so certain heterim, how one should be able to wash himself in the 9 days. So the shaila is, do we apply, and it changes that we say that the rule is shav l'chol nefesh. Today, we're all We all need, whenever we take a shower, we wash our whole body. So could we say also that whatever Rabbi Hill allows you to do with your feet, we could do it with our whole body, perhaps, or not? That's if looking to Shulchan Aruch and even to see Acharim later, because even the times not today, but Shulchan Aruch today, things are also different because people change. And he gives a reason. You have to follow the reason. There's no reason. You have to follow the halacha. Finish. But there's a reason for it. The Torah gives you, Chazal give you a reason. You could follow the reason. If it does or doesn't apply, then you could pass in a din. There's something very important to could here. So you have this person. There's two things today. A person puts on hot water. First of all, are you cooking water by putting on the faucet of hot water? That's number one. Depending on the mechanism of your faucet or your shower. That's number one. But we even have a Shulchan Aruch, even if it's already cooked before Yom Tif, like a mikveh, it's already heated before Yom Tif, or something hot before. Are you allowed to go your whole gufay into the mikveh, to water? If not for the fact that it's a mitzvah, and if you do it, if you always like to do it, always, well, you want to go into the mikveh today because it's Yom Tif, and you never go to the mikveh on Yom Tif Shabbos, it's a shayla. So here we have the Mishnah Machlek Shabbos Hill. Good. We know right. Says the Gemara. Fine, or it's
Go.
not the Gemara.
Just one question.
Sure.
Beis Shammai doesn't hold mitoich. He wouldn't allow carrying.
Right. We had it in the past. There's a rule of mitoich shehutra haitzah l'tzeirich, taking out hutuna mishaleh l'tzeirich, mitoich shehutra havara, lighting fire l'tzeirich.
For carrying,
you carry.
You can't just carry.
Oh, so tzedek ktsas. Even according to Basil, it says mitoich. But we learned there has to be a tzedek ktsas or tzedek hayoim. There has to be some kind of need, not stam. But also we're going to have a difference in the sugya, the hemshech sugya, if it's directly related to the eichel or it's a machshirei eichel. Like, could you go ahead and do a malacha to make a pot? I want to go make pottery on Yom Tif in order to have a pot to be able to cook later on. This is tzedek eichel. That's machshirei eichel because that's not directly related to the eichel itself. We're going to have soon a person wants to put out a fire because tashmish amita, you can't have a fire there. Wants to put out hanoah. There's also hanoah. No, so there's the between putting out a fire later on, a direct hanoah, or to be meneh, taking away something that prevents you from having hanoah. So that we're going to have an hemshech hasug here about the machshirei oichel nefesh. And also fails achleks of Lezer Hagadol in Shabbos that he says on Shabbos for bris milah, you could even go ahead and not light a fire and make metal. In order to make a little knife, in order to go ahead and do the bris milah, he holds alifim Shabbos machshirei milah is b'deicha Shabbos. The halacha is of course not like Rabbi Lezer. We have to mamish have the malach itself. But here it comes to Yom Tif, where we say, of course, malach is mutter or tzedek eichel. Do we say also tzedek machshirei eichel? That's going to be a sugya we're going to have as well. Okay.
But this they hold mitoich is not allowed. Beis Shammai. They
don't agree with the rule of mitoich. They say no. You need to have that. I'm cooking, doing malacha now for oichel nefesh, not because I'm allowed to do halach. If I can do it for something else, for washing my feet.
Okay, so they don't allow carrying on Yom Tov. You wouldn't be allowed to carry your.
Only if you're carrying a pot of soup to go to take it to your house.
You couldn't carry your tablets.
What? No.
Good.
Shabbos, no.
Okay, that's just one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The boilu frekt Gemara. My Haimedure, the last part of the Mishnah. Mam Katonila, who said this last part? Divrei Hakel he. Everyone holds even Beis Shammai. What would be the svara why Beis Shammai would say a medura is different than cooking up water for your feet? Pashit. The Beis Shammai sees a difference between bein hanos kol gufay la hanos eiver echad. Right? The fire is giving you kol gufi hanos. So perhaps Beis Shammai holds that is very similar to oichel nefesh, which you consume and your whole body gains from it, and therefore Beis Shammai agrees to Bishilo that one is allowed to put firewood and make a fire to be able to come warm on Yom Tif. Or Dilma or Bishilo Katanila. But Bishilo is the one who says this din about Madura. Beis Shammai loy sharalu doesn't make that difference. That's the Gemara Shaila here. You already see from the Gemara Shaila that we already see a difference between kol gufay, right, and one aver. For the Gemara's question already, we see that there's a difference between kol gufay and one aver. Yeah, you get the Gemara Shaila.
Yes, I do.
Klar?
Yes.
Is there? So is there a difference, and therefore Beis Shammai is muddy to Beis Hillel, that because a fireplace is necessary for the whole body, therefore he's allowed to do it? And Yoni says it's also to cook up food for 1 foot for your feet, which is not the whole body, which is not similar to Eichel, to Achila. And then the last case of the Mishnah will be Kula Alma, according to everyone. Or do we say no? Beis Shammai indeed will also aser to cook up to put up a big fire to become warm. Why? It's not oichel nefesh. It's another hanoah. It's a hanoah. It's not hanoah. It's not hanoah. Pleasure of oichel. Do we limit the definition of Bishami holds only malacha for oichel? Not other hanoahs are allowed. Or Bishami is saying no, other hanoahs are allowed, but it has to be similar to oichel, which the whole body gains from it, not just one aver. That's what we're trying to understand. That's the shaila. What's Bishami holding? The Bishami's problem is that washing. What's the problem with washing with cooking for your feet? Is it because it's not food, or it's because it's one aver? That's a shaila. If it's because it's one aver, I'll show you a case of your whole body which is becoming warm, then he would allow it. But or do we say no? It's nothing to do with the fact that it's a whole goof. It's because it's not oichel nefesh. Who cares if it's for your foot or for your whole body? He would not allow the medura. That's the Gemara shaila. Yeah.
Okay. Not yet. It's not the shaila yet.
That's a question. Who's the last case of the Mishnah? Is this last case of the Mishnah according to Kula Alma? Bishami also agrees that one is allowed to make this big fire for your whole body to get warm, or is it only like it's Beis Hillel, and Bishami will still maintain his isur because he has a very narrow definition of oichel nefesh, meaning mamish has to be for food, consumption of food in your body for nothing else. You can do malacha. Or is it more broadened definition of oichel nefesh, which includes other hanoahs, but it just has provided that it's a hanoah for the whole body? That's a Bishami.
The drinking of the boiling water, the boiling of drinking water, the fact that you can use it for the heats of the feet. So one whole, the Shammai holds Asa and the Beis Hillel holds Mukha. Now, when it comes to the making of the medura, if can he say I'm making the medura bitzad
cooking food.
And then I'll warm my body.
If Bishami allows to make a fire, to cook up water for your feet because you are drinking from the water, Kolshkein, he allows you to make a fire to cook up food to eat, and later on, because there is the element in Medura that's closer to Beis Hillel, like we said. Yeah. It does have something that's called Haguf. So l'choyre is pashtus, a Kolshkein. He says,
no, but he would have to have the kavon, even though the Mishnah doesn't say.
Oh, that have to, yeah. There's a heter also.
That I'm making.
Right. So very good.
I'll get warm.
Because the Gemara now is going to answer what's going to, and the Merai from Rabbi said that actually the last case of the Mishnah is not Bishami, it's only Beis Hillel. So now, according to that, now your heart is going to be very fast. So now that we know Bishami holds that you're not allowed to make a big fire, right? Because you argued with the last case of Mishnah. So you're asking, is there the same heter as he says in the Reisha? You could cook it up for yeah, it's a kolshkin.
Maybe you can't because that's why he says that it's a big fire. When you're cooking food, you don't make a big fire because you can't cook on a big fire. It's not gonna can't control it. So you have to make a smaller fire.
So now you're going to the Inyan of Mabe B'Shurim. Mabe B'Shurim, we said you could add Shurim. You have a certain fire in a big pot. You only need to have the pot half full for Yom Tiv. You could add a full pot. The Shiloh could add more wood. Is adding wood called Mabe B'Shurim or not? That's the Shiloh. Good. Is that also called on the Mabe B'Shurim? Very good. Okay, but let's look at the answer. So, Toshma, okay, that's giving you a svar. It's giving you Pashta Metzias. That we see in the Braisa, that the Shama Emil Yas or the Medura Vizcham connected with Silmatiris. You see clearly that the same argument of Shama Zil regarding Yochim to cook up water for your feet also is about making a big fire. So Akaponim Bishami says in both cases you're not allowed to. So the Nukuda was that he has a very narrow definition of Oichel Nefesh, which is Mamish, Achila food, consuming food. That's it. Anything not consuming food, even though it's very similar to consuming food, your whole body is affected. Nevertheless, it will give me answer. That's what it says. Let's do the next mission. Shloisha Dvarim Rabbi Gamliel Machmir K'divrei B'Shamai. In 3 halachas, Rabbi Gamliel is Machmir. Even though Rabbi Gamliel comes from Hillel, he's a great grandchild of Hillel. Gamliel, and then his father go till Hazokim. But nevertheless, he was Machmir 3 things like B'Shamai. The first one say that Anathing says that Bemet says many other things, but he speaks about Hilchos Yom Tov. In Hilchos Yom Tov, you find three things in Machmir B'Shamai. What are they? Ein toimnin as a chamin lechatchila b'Yom Tov. One is not allowed to be toimin, insulate hot dish or hot water from Yom Tov to Shabbos. The Gemara will discuss what case we're talking about here. You have you could cook even. For sure, you could do it to money, maybe not, right? But the speaker in the case of Yom Tov is Erev Shabbos, and he says he does not do Hatmana. We're familiar with Hatmana, right? Right, Hatmana on Yom Tov before Shabbos. Of course, we know in Hatmana it's of the two types of Hatmana. And Hilchos Shabbos, not negated here. Hatmana that's a Meisif Hevel. Meisif Chaim, it gives you heat. And Hatmana does not add any heat. Hatmana, they add heat even Erev Shabbos. You're not allowed to do it. You have to only allowed to because you might come because you might by mistake go ahead and add something do malach on Shabbos. Hatmana, it's not Meisif any Chaim, any heat. That is allowed. So our question obviously is only about the Hatmana, which normally would be allowed to even on a weekday. In a weekday Friday, now to do Hatmana, it's Meisif Hevel for sure. It's Yom Tiv. So only Hatmana that's not Meisif Hevel, which is allowed on a normal weekday, obviously even instead of Shabbos, but it's considered a malacha to be done on Shabbos itself or on Yom Tov itself. So the shaila is, can you do it for the purpose of Shabbos?
At that point in time, this Mishnah,
Yeah.
they already was also to be make a Hadmada with this Meisik Havel.
Mustami, yeah. The Mishnah sold, they had to Masechta Shabbos about this. It's a Mishnah Masechta Shabbos about if a Meitziv Hevel not, and if not Meitziv Hevel allowed. That's even on a Friday afternoon. It's a Gzeira. Okay. So here it's Hatmana. You should not. Did not do Hatmana. That's number one. Number two, ve'ein zoikfin es hamenoira. The zoikif means to put it straight up, to put together the menoira. We'll discuss. This is all on Yom Tiv. It's all on Yom Tiv. On Yom Tiv, the first case was Yom Tiv, that's Erev Shabbos. Second case is Tam Yom Tiv. Could be zoikif the bread. Gemara discusses the details what this means. Rashi says right away. The Farish time the Gemara tells the Tam. Now in zoikfin Rashi says. Mashma im noflo menoira shel matchis. If a menoira of matchis of metal fell, ein zoikvin umashivin oisa, and apparently it had pieces and it broke, like it fell apart. So you're not allowed to go and put the pieces together on Yom Tiv. And this is only like Bishamai, and we'll see soon why it's Bishamai. How he followed Bishamai this inyan. The third thing is, in oifin pitin gritzin, he does not bake thicker. Gritzin is thicker breads because of extra tirche on Yom Tiv. Elo rikikin. Rikikin is like thinner crackers that he allows them. He did bake on Yom Tiv. Rabbi Gamliel said, "Mimein shal beis Abba, from all the days and from my father's household, lahoyu oifin pitin gritzin elo rikikin." It's another statement. He said they would never, not just himself, they would never bake this thicker type of bread. Only the thinner breads, that's the extra tirche. The Chacham told him, Gamliel. The Chacham told Gamliel, Manasa, what should we do? The base of your father's home, Shahayu, Machmirin al Atzman, for themselves, they will machmir themselves, Umakil and Chol Yisrael. I will make it to everyone else who came to passing the din, Liyas Oifen, in order to be allowed them to bake. Pitin Gritzin, and even Chararin. We're going to say to Chararin is even thicker than Gritzin. It's even more of a problem. Al Kapanim, not that I say the halach is so. Many things, the household of Rabbi Gamliel, they had certain chumas, did certain things. But to everyone else, they're asking you're allowed to even bake thicker breads, even thicker than gritzin. Rashi says, what does it mean? Pitin gritzin, kikoris ovim, thick breads. Mishum tirche, it's an extra tirche. So baking, you could do on Yom Tiv, but he didn't do it in this. Charorim, sha'if al gecholim. Yimamish put it onto the coals itself. This is apparently more of a tirche, more of an art. And that Rabbi Gamliel would not do, but of course he allowed Yidden to do it because he allowed to do it for Yom Tiv.
It's matzah.
Matzah. Matzah, like a cracker, yeah? A cracker. Gemara, Heichi Dami, what's the first case talking about that he did not go and do Atmana? Monashech. It's speaking here about Yom Tiv and his Erev Shabbos. So either on Achiruvi Tavshilin, if he made an Erev Tavshilin, you could cook, you could do Atmana, you could do everything. Why not? So even Bishamai should allow. My time of the Bishamai, why would Bishamai, which Gamliel now is following Bishamai, hold you should not do Atmana. If it's a case where a person did not place an Eretz Tavshilin before Yom Tiv, then my time of the Beis Hillel, it seems that Beis Hillel says you're allowed to do Atmana. Would Beis Hillel allow to do Atmana in the absence of an Eretz Tavshilin? The Chayrat Tamar is just like everything else you should not do unless you have Eretz Tavshilin. So there's a few answers, two answers. Huna says, we're speaking about a person did not live in Eretz Tavshilin. In that case, is the question on Beis Hillel, why would Beis Hillel allow a person to do Atmana if there was no Eretz Tavshilin? Kedei chayav sharu. Kedei chayav means that the bare necessity that a person needs to survive is a lot. Not speaking of koch nefesh. We're speaking about to be able to live right. That we allowed even if there's no Eretz Tavshilin. Chiddush didn't have this before he did al-Pedic. That if someone forgot to make an Eretz Tavshilin, before we spoke about different eitzes. If you forgot to make Tavshilin, what do? You can rely on someone else, right? But here we're saying something else. If it's kedei chayav, when it says The minimum you're allowed to cook even without Erev Tavshilin. And he says what? You're allowed to do B'kei Chayov, Shor Rabbanan. Rabbeinu follows his reasoning, like we have some Rabbeinu says, Mi shaloi hiniach eruv tavshilin. A person did not leave an Erev Tavshilin. Oifin loy pas achas. One bread you could bake for him. You show him what do you mean baking for him? That means that a household could do it. Some say he should not do it. Someone else would do it for him. You could cook one dish. Madlikin loy es hanev, and you should light. And apparently it means also neir achas, only one neir, not more. Mishra Yitzchak Amud said after soiling dog cotton, you could also roast for him one dog, one fish. Similar din in the Braisa like Ravuna, like we said, Nishla Hiniach Hiruv Tavshil, one did not leave any Tavshil. Oifin loy pas achas, you could cook one loaf of bread. Toimnin loy kedera achas, you could do a tamana for one kedera. Madlikin loy es haneir, you could light one candle. Umechamin loy kiser and achas, it's about the losh of the Braisa, you could cook up one chinik of water. Some people say, you could also do that. This is Ravuna's answer. So Ravuna said, Pshat, the Mishnah is, right? That speaking about a case that there was no Erev Tavshil, and the Chiddush is, Bizhil will tell you that you're allowed to cook one thing. Rabbi Shammai, which says that no, you should not do hatamana. For that matter, he would not do any cooking. Even that one kisar in achas, he also would not allow. That's Ravuna's answer in the Mishnah. Okay. Another way of interpreting the Mishnah, Rabbi says no. Leila Misheniach. He put an Erev Tavshil. If you put a Tavshil, now it shows Rabbi Shammai. Why Rabbi Shammai say you should not do hatamana? What's wrong doing hatamana? Now it's another big chiddush you didn't have before now and now paid it yet. The chiddush is that even if you have an Erev Tavshilin, it won't help you for hatamana. Why not hatamana? Hatamana is something that's quite, it's obvious it's for the next day. So he says, hatamana is different. Even if one has a Tavshilin, we should not do hatamana. The muchacha milsa. It's very, very much. It's clear from what you're doing that daiti the Shabbat to kov, you're doing it for Shabbos. That means why are you doing hatamana? Any cooking could always say, I'm cooking for Shabbos. Even though you know you're cooking for tomorrow, but I'm sure you can do it for tomorrow. But hatamana, there's no way you're doing hatamana now for today, because you're doing hatamana in order to keep it for long term, for tomorrow. It's a chiddush now, that even if one makes an Erev Tavshil, the Shammai is going to say that hatamana one is not allowed to do because the people outside who come and see, they're not going to maybe do the make a and it's very good. So the only hectare of cooking before Shabbos is only apparently according to the Svara of Rabbi, because there is some way a person could think he's still cooking for this day itself. But if there's no way a person will even think it's for the day itself, even the Tavshil, Misham would say it now, and that's the case of Atman. But I must ask a very simple shayla now. We're going to see from Hananya that Beishamai says he holds. I don't know if you remember we had the other argument. Beishamai said you had to do. If you want to cook, you have to put a cooked dish before Yom Tov. If you want to bake, you have to put a baked dish, right? You want to do atman, you have to insulate something before Yom Tov. So yeah, and Rabbi Hill says no, you do just one tafshil and it takes care of all your needs. But what do we see from the Bisham? He does mention b'derech hagav that you want to bake bread, cook. You want to be matmin, do atman before Yom Tov. So what do you see from the Bisham? He does allow, provided he just leaves a atman before Yom Tov, then he's allowed to on Yom Tov be matmin for Shabbos. So how could the Rabbi come and say that Beishamai holds that no aid of Tavshil could help you and allow you to do Hatman on Yom Tiv, where we see clearly Hanani says that Beishamai says that he's machmir that every single thing needs to have its own designated aid of, and amongst that list he mentions be matmin something before Yom Tiv in order to have Hatman to be able to do Hatman on Yom Tiv. That means you could do Hatman on Yom Tiv. That's more the shayla now. Let's look inside, and then we'll.
So that the explanation in this Braisa is going to be that his Hatmana was for Yom Tov, not for Shabbos, and that's what permits him.
Wait. Let's first see the shayla. So for now, we have an answer from Rabbi.
Okay.
Abaya's a shayla. How could you now come and say that Beishamai, under no circumstances, allows a person to do a tamana on Yom Tov that's out of Shabbos, even if there's going to be a Eidiv, he doesn't allow? How could you say that? And it's your suggestion in the Mishnah. It says we learned Hananya says Beishamai say ein oifin elim kein orav bepas. One can't bake unless he put aside a piece of bread he baked before Yom Tov. One should not cook. Elim kain orav betavshil. He made an aid with a tavshil. That's the point we're trying to figure out. One should not do atmana unless elim kain hoyu loy chamin tmunim out of Yom Tov. He did it for Yom Tov. So what do we see from here? Hoyu loy chamin tmunim. if he did have before Yom to prepare a fine eidiv according to Bishamai, which was also a Hatmana, so then he's allowed to then do it. Even though it's quite clear that when on Yom Tif I'm going to do Atman, it's going to be obvious I'm looking for the next day for Shabbos, after the Shabbos COVID, nevertheless you're allowed to do it. So how could the Rabbi you come and say that that's in our Mishnah? So therefore, Elam Rabbi says another answer. Going Sha'orav Lozeh, L'orav Lozeh. And V'chananya, that means that we're going to follow the Chananya. The case is he made an eidiv for Afiyah. He made an eidiv for Tafshil. But he did not make an eidiv before Yom Tif. He wasn't matin. He didn't do hatmana. That's the case of the Mishnah. That's the case of the argument. So a person did not do hatmana before his eidiv tafshilin was not with a davar mutma. Wasn't with something that was insulated. So that's clear. Bisham is going to hold according to Chananya. You can't do hatmana on Yom Tif. Why can't you do hatmana on Yom Tif? Because you did not place hatmana before Yom Tif. And Ms. Hill is going to say, you don't have to. You don't even have to place a baked good. You could even rely on the tafshil itself to do all your works. You could put just a tafshil that you cooked before Yom Tif, and you could cook, you could bake, you could light candles, you could also do hatmana. But Bishamai, according to Chanan, that he says that you need to have also a hatmana and also a bishul to do each one. And our case is, he pash orav lozeh, he failed, he forgot to place before Yom Tif a kisei mutman, something that was insulated, and therefore it comes out of Shabbos on Yom Tif. But you're not. I'm going to leave on this case. He's following the Shaman. He's not going to allow it to be done.
It's a proper sword to say you can't be matmin on Yom Tov because it's obvious that you're cooking for Shabbos.
Oh, but then the whole shaila is, you see, a lot of discuss this. What do you mean? The whole Eretz Shilin is for that. Everyone who's going to know. Everyone knows you're doing it for the next day.
I know, but it's not.
It's all hard. And if it's right before Shabbos, could you cook a minute before Shabbos? You could. No. If you have Erev Tashil, you could. If you don't have Erev Tashil, you can't. If you have Orchim, you can't. But the whole point of Erev Tashil.
Has this man for Orchim. Otherwise, you're too late. You can't.
But if you have an Erev already. No.
If you have an Erev, anyways, it has to be timed.
It's not so close. I'm saying it's no, the Orchim is even not. They have to even. But come on, the Nakuda is that do you need something else to Hatmana is obviously the next day. But the whole Eretz Shalava knows. My family is I'm cooking for Shabbos. The whole thing was you should put a money yofa. You should designate an extra money for Shabbos to cover Shabbos. Therefore, those are cooking for Shabbos now. So it's quite clear in any eidiv that you're cooking for Shabbos. So who's going to be the onlooker who's coming and will make that mistake? Some say there's two nyarim. There's the family members and there's someone from outside. For the family members, indeed, it's quite clear. Tamana and anything else will make no difference because according to the family, they know you're cooking. But the one who's looking outside, where he doesn't know if you made eidiv or not. So if you're cooking and baking, he could always assume you're doing it for today, right? However, when it comes to Atmana, he knows that's going to be this fun. But that's Bishamai. It's obviously the Metzias is even Atmana, and even if you did not do before Yom Tov Atmana, you just designated the dish, a tafshil, you could still be matmin on Yom Tov. We said madlikas haneid. We said also haneid. It doesn't say haneid echod. Everything else said echod. Echod.
It didn't say echod.
It isn't echod.
It brings a note here that there are those who permit multiple narrows.
Oh yeah, that's what it doesn't say echod.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you need light. You need to have echad means minimum, but when it comes to light, one doesn't even suffice, to provide any light in the house. Look at the taste on top. The top tastes. Madlikin is haneid. This was also in Allah Lamaisa, so I'm going to learn these tastes. Madlikin is haneid. Mikan mashma says tastes from here. Kum taste. Shetzorich lahaskir bebirchas eruve tafshil. That we have to mention when we place our Erev Tafshil, when we make the bracha and place it, you should say Yehei Shari, like we say today. Yehei Shari, it should be allowed, Livishule, to cook, La'afuya, to bake, Ula Adluke, like Shraga, for Chulu, and to light the candle. From here we see it clearly, Kumtes from them. Ve'im, Bishvil Hadloke, Loi Hisne, says if you do not mention Hadloke in your lashon of Erev Tafshilin, mashma hachosh diye osur lahadlik loy rak neir echad. So in other words, the extra neiris that were allowed, that you're not going to be allowed to do it if you did not mention in your lashon, you're doing it for the candle as well. One, it says you're allowed to in any case.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Very interesting. Okay.
Okay. Hutzach lahaskin adluki rak echad. Why? Where does Tosfos get this from? How does Tosfos know this? Mid chazinon, the hutzrach lahaskir adluki haneir, mashma the osur lemi shloihiniach lahadlik neirak neirechot. So if candles you're allowed to light in any case if you had Erev Tavshilum, so it says like this. So, it says. Mid chazinon the hutzrach lahaskir adluki haneir. So we see from me that a person who did not place an Erev Tavshilum is not allowed to do only one nade itself. Okay. Weiter. We're done with the sugya. The next position was you should not put together maneda.
Together or stand it up?
Zoykif normally means to stand up, but what's meant to do? What does it mean? Maiko Ovid, what is he doing wrong? What's he doing? It's speaking about Mashmor, speaking of Monoida, that's one piece and it broke, and you want to push it, fix it together. Is that what we're talking here about? Says no. It's made up of different pieces. Chulis means it's made up of different pieces. Yeah. And what happened here? And so the Mexican boine, and it looks like it's boine. The Bishamai Savi, they hold Yesh Binyan Bekalim. They hold. Now, even though Baina would be if mamish they broke and I'm putting it together, yeah. Mashenkin, if it's just pieces put together, why is it Baina? I mean, a person could, when it comes to different things, we do even today, folding up a folding table, a folding chair, different things. So if it's meant always to take apart like that, it's not called Baina. That's just doing the function of the keli. Or even when it comes to a door, it speaks about if there's hinges there, if you're attaching, detaching. If it's something you're doing normal, then it's not called baina. Only if it's, let's say, if something broke, for example, and you're fixing it, right? Or you're doing something. So if it's chulis, but merzek baina. So it looks like baina, and you have to hold this binya b'kelim. If you don't hold this isra binya b'kelim deraisa, then it's like zeder l'gzeder. So Beishamai holds yesh binyan ustira b'kelim. I mean, one is not allowed to build or destroy kalim as well. That's part of the malach of baina. Therefore, in our case of chulias, will be geyser. It's mechze. Looks like your baina, your binyan kalim. So it's not a gzeder. Mashenkim is Hillel. He says even the original binyan kalim to actually go and build a kalim from scratch is not called baina. You're not even anything to baina. It's only the Rabbanon one says should not do baina. And now it has chulias. Mechzet, the Gzeilik Zeh, so that could be cases. So that's going to be the machlik that we had already before now. Masechta in yesh binis to the bekel or ain't binis to the bekel. My covered on Rabbi Beitza Daf manishal chulis askinan the mechzek vein. B'sham I saw, but they hold savri yesh binis bekelim. There is binis bekelim deraisa, and therefore here we go. It looks like binis. B'sil savri, b'sil hold ain't binis bekelim or binis bekelim. Vein still bekelim also not. And taka is the halacha. I mean, but only have binya where, like Rashi can tell us in a moment, on oil, right? That's where that very careful comes from oil. It comes to making oil on Shabbos. You have to be very, very careful because this is mamish deraisa. Because any oil, a tent that covers you and you live under it, it's called a binyan. So people have a bushel. If the tablecloth are you creating an oil for those who want to sit under the table? Listen, they have a lot of. So the oil is a very serious thing because
children, yeah.
Right, so oil is seriously, but anything else is mamash a keli that's only already is the rabbana, so downgrades it, and therefore there's more hatating. Let's finish up this. What?
It shows up as a cover for a sukkah.
Sukkah, yeah, sure. Also, when it comes to an awning, if you put it on an awning, you have to know how to do it in a way that it should not be in from Baina. Okay. There's a binyan Arab, binyan Kva. Okay, so let's look into the Gemara Levited. Then we'll go to Rashi. So there's a story here. Ula ikla lebei Rav Yehuda. Ula came to Rav Yehuda's house. Kom Shamei. The Shami, the servant of Rabbi Yehuda, he got up and zokaf lo l'shrago. Shrago is a candle. He did zokaf. He did this gift in the shrago. So Eisvei Rabbi Yehuda l'ula b'dashula. Oh no, I'm sorry, not zokaf. Not Mishnah said. This is Bishami says not allowed. We're allowed to do it. It's not zokaf l'shrago. Rashi said, look at Rashi. Zokaf l'shrago. Shahaya, hold on. He wanted the shemen should go far from the wick. He didn't want the candle anymore. It was getting late. He didn't want the candle anymore. So how did he extinguish the candle? By tilting the nail that the oil should separate from the wick, and then the wick is not going to have fuel to live, and it's going to die. That's what he did. So Pashat, he did havara in the way of gram, really. Are we allowed to do it or not? You guide them that it should go out earlier in the mashal. Could you take away shemen from a candle? And it's going to make sure instead of lighting for 5 hours, it's going to light now for 4 hours. When it comes to a timer on Shabbos, when those timers have pins, you put those pins inside. If it's timer, it has timer. It should go on 5 o'clock, and now it's 4 o'clock. Can I take the pin out and put it to 6 o'clock? What am I doing? I'm not doing anything. What?
I said I don't remember.
Saying so that could people matter. There's no we'll see, this is a little our suga has to do with this nukuda of are you mamish affecting Moshe? We're going to see here when it comes to the wick that you're even though if you're taking the oil away all the way now, you're mamish causing it now to extinguish. But if you took away some oil or you tilt it in a way that it's going to go off in an hour instead of in 5 hours, what do you do wrong? You guide them that later on. It's a grama. It's not a problem. Especially Yom Tov. Not Taste will discuss it. But there's even more. But Taste will discuss that here you're diminishing the light. If it has less oil, even now the brightness is diminished a little bit. The afternoon will be what? Cutting off the bottom of a wick candle. If you have a candle made out of wicks, right? Made out of wax, and you're cutting off half of the candle. But you're cutting off half of the candle bottom. You're not making the light get less. By oil, you could say, if I have oil for 5 hours, I took away 2.5 hours of oil. So not just I'm causing it should go off 2.5 hours earlier, but I'm causing also now the fire should be a little bit less, and therefore it's also. But cutting off the bottom of a candle from wax, l'chayda, it's not a problem. It takes how to do it, not by cutting with a knife, cutting it with taking off with the fire, and that will be the nafkamina. So l'chayda, when we're speaking about our timer, you're not making anything. You're not affecting the air conditioner or the light that you want to do with your timer by taking the pin off now and putting it later or earlier. Only in the case of the oil, where even though you take it out, it's effective for 2 hours later. Very important thing here. So I'm saying, I'm not passing the sham. I'm saying you this is what the thinking besides the heter is. It's very different. Though we know the din is in the brayse. One is not allowed to master take oil from the candle away and use it for your salad. Even though I'm not making it go off now because of this reason, and that's why one would be allowed to do it when it comes to a made out of wax. Let's see the Gemara. So this is what happened. So Ula's servant did this. So he told him, Yehuda asked Ula, we learned Hanoisen Shemen b'neir chayiv. If someone adds Shemen in a neir, he's chayiv the malacha of adding fire. Mavir. Mishum mavir. V'hamestapek mimenu. If someone takes away, not the whole oil, of course, the whole oil your mom is making go out now. You take out a little bit, a spoon of oil from the candle. You also chayiv mishum mechabe. So that means there's any of kirui also now. So how could you shamish do this? I'm allowed that too. You're right. I didn't see him. He did it himself. I wasn't involved in my shamish doing this and that. So he didn't. Didn't give my head. Rashi on top, and then we'll do tastes. Rashi on top. She'arav lazeh with arav lazeh. So it's ofa ubisha mibaid yoim l'shem eidav. This the answer of Huna was, but the answer of Abaya was that the Mishnah is speaking about a case that is also according to Mishnah that he made an eidav for one, not for the other. Meaning he designated afia or bishul, but did not do atmana before Yom Tov. Therefore, now Yom Tov you can't do atmana. Well, Toman Chami did not. It wasn't matman Chami. Now, Menoida shel chulias ukeshenaflo nifrudu chulyaseha. When this Menoida fell, being was made out of pieces, so therefore, when it fell, the pieces scattered. Yesh toiras. Rashi has the gears of toiras. We didn't have to go about toiras. Yesh toiras binyim v'kelim ubayna chayiv b'chol shu. And bayna is chayiv even by a little bit, and the whole kelim. Therefore, one should not do it. Ein toiras binyim v'kelim ve'einei chayiv elim came also by melacha. You only chayiv when it comes to doing something in kelim, says Rashi, not binyan, something else that would constitute another malacha. For example, mechachek, mechateich, oireg, chayv, the teifer, shein avos malachas. So he's just saying, be careful when you're doing with kelim. Binyan take, there is no binyan. But you have to know what the definition of binyan that is. If you're going to smooth out a keli, you say, oh, there's no binyan b'kefai. I'm not doing binyan, but now you're doing mechachek, and that is a problem. Or mechatech, cutting it into pieces. Oireg, if you're going to weave, or teif, you're going to sew. So, but the binyan b'kelim there is that you don't have. Because the melachas latzim, the separate. Aval chazaras chulius, putting together pieces of a meneda, she'ein by elo mishum binyan. That is only binyan. So then the only thing you're doing now is binyan. So if you don't hold this binyan, let's be fine. Ein bayna elo bebatim va'olis. He says binyan is only going to be hillel batim, homes, and the oil. Yeah, come shami, the servant, the ula. Zokaf l'shrage, we learned this in Ashur, she'roitze, she'istalik Hashem al-acher. We wanted the Shemesh should go backwards, should go away a little bit. V'lei moshech achra psil should not be drawn to the wick. The tichben should go out ultimately. Shrage is ner shel cheres. It's called in French. It's made from cheres.
Always.
What?
Always, yeah.
Yeah, those you have all the old, the round, the round. They had the noses made from cheres normally, and then you have even today they found the old natives of them. I mean, it looks like the bottom like a half of avocado actually. It's thick, and once it comes thinner, and you have and the end it comes out. So this is how the natives. You found a lot of them now from how it's amol. That's called the name made from cheres, and there's oil, and the wick is there. So when you're going to tilt the oil a little bit to the other side, so then it won't be drawn to the fire. So within a few minutes, it's going to go. It's not right away. It's going to be later. So he says how it's from cheres. So I'm a topic. So we what the din is. I'm Hashem b'nei b'Shabbos. I'm a topic. I'm neitleman ba'echel. He's taking oil from it and he's eating chayv mishum chabe. The kivui b'yomtiv le'ishteri. We don't allow to extinguish fire on yomtiv. That will be the next the Gemara about putting out a fire. You can't stand put it out. And how's he doing it? Lava daitoit. He says osa shamish masha osa, but I did not give him the hero to do it. Tastes on top. The first one we did already. Let's do the next two tastes. Is Hillel Savri ain't binyan still be kale, right? Is Hillel whole?
Yeah.
There's no binyan still be kale. No means there's no isur. Vim Toimar, Choyre, Gemara and Shabbos, we find that there is. Vim Toimar, Habe Shabbos, you see, B'menoira, Shal Cholis, Kol Alma, Le Plig Dasur. You have to look into the Gemara Shabbos and Vav, but upon the same exact case, B'menoira Shal Cholis, we see on Shabbos is also, and if this Hillel hold no binyan, they hold no binyan at Shabbos, not Yom Tov. So why should be also? Shlema says Taisa. There's two answers. One answer to Shlema the Hassam Mairi b'Shabbos or maybe Yom Tov. But the Chmira Chachamim Hoyel v'Bin b'Keil. So that is this one later, even though it's Takamid that I said there's no Isur, but Shabbos though more Machmer there from the Gemara Shabbos and it says it's also. Inami Yeshleimar. Also, maybe the mechanism of the menorah was a different menorah.
That would be a gezerah Hamim on Shabbos.
Right. And maybe. Okay, so you have to see, but Shabbos are more machmir than Yom Tov. But something we have in the beginning of our Masechta, the reason machmir Yom Tov, like muktzah, you're more machmir on Yom Tov over Shabbos. Because people are going to think, because Yom Tov is not skiller, it's only a lav, so they can make us, you have some weights. But some kinds of Chazal think they know when a person would want to be more makel, and based on they knew Pashtus, of course they had, but the same Pashtus, they understand the people, how they, when would they be nichshel, and they would be nichshel, and I'm always see the machmir more Shabbos, because the part is skiller, and therefore you have to be a machmir. It's not just, it's kares, it's skill, it's not just a lav. And when they see a person might be more makel and Yom Tov, therefore they were machmir. But this is just what we're saying here. In our case, we see Taka the machmir and Shabbos over Yom Tov. That's one answer. Well, the answer is no. Shabbos Yom Tov in this case, according to the second answer of Tesis, is the same din. We still won't have a different din. In the Shabbos there it says they said you're not allowed to because the menorah was a different menorah. He said a technical difference here. In Ami Shleimar, the Hasamairi shekul shechulis. The entire menorah was a bunch of pieces. That's how the menorah was made, and that taka looks mamish like binyan itself. You're building up a cave, chulis, and therefore. You take it apart piece by piece. I know what that means. Apparently, the menorah is just it just has to be tightened one. It's not shot there. It's mamish looks like a binyan. The whole thing was that's how many pieces made up. It wasn't so chulius. Even the lashon chulius, and there's the same lashon chulius. So this is no, it's a different type of menorah there. But putting it up a little bit. The Eine Balas Evorim doesn't have pieces and pieces. The Kula Mechuberes, it's all one piece. Right. A little bit that's it. This is the taste. This is the thing we discussed before. Why? What's the meaning of gram and the difference between if it's from a shayva or it's from oil? It says Taisvis. It's not telling us because you're memahir the kivui. Gram kivui. Gram kivui yom tiv shari.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't mean that our case was that he's goyim. That means what he did was, what this shamish did was mamish, he moved away the oil, and direct result of his action, it was taka, he accomplished kivui, not gram. Because if it would be just a gram, indeed it will not be a problem. You hear what they're saying?
Yes,
So again, he hastened the kivui to come. That's not the pshat of the Gemara. That wasn't the problem. Why? In that case, gram kivui, it would only be classified as gram kivui, you goyim kivui, but gram kivui yom tov shari, yom tov it's allowed. After bisham amayr kivuya, even though you do make it come quicker. Ubishabbos nami nechayiv, and Shabbos not chayiv, and the lashon here is what Shabbos yechayiv. Chayiv means chayiv chatos if it's b'sheigim, right? So how can lashon be chayiv if you just mamayr the kivui? It can't be chayiv. It's a gram. So what was the problem? Elahayna taime hoyil the oise shah shehu mistapik mimeno mechabik tzas. So I was going to explain that when a person, even though he didn't take the oil all the way, and you can't see mamish, and even if you take the oil all the way from the wick, it wouldn't go out right away. And here's in Din Shabbos of gram, it's a matter of seconds. You take a refrigerator, open up a refrigerator on Shabbos, yeah? You guide him that perhaps it's becoming hotter, and therefore, instead of 2 minutes going on in a minute. But it's a gram, and you don't want it. But I go, the Nekudas, gram means if it's not direct, that's all you have, the phones there for the government, that they allowed you to use the phones, and the mechanism is, it's a few seconds delayed. So when you're pushing, you're not mammy directly, because you can't look at chilas, only for the koch, you want it to be a little easier. So it's not directly that when you're picking up the phone, you're dialing, you're directly doing something that's not allowed. You're doing igniting something electronic. Rather, you're doing it, and a second or two later, it's happening. That's called already a gram. So that it takes it from the raisa and makes it ready the rabbanon. So even if you were to move away the oil all the way, take all the oil from the wick, the fire won't go out immediately, only if you blow the fire out, right? So he's saying here that when you're taking from the oil from the fire, you just guide him that it's going to go out in the future. So what's shat? Why is it us? And I explain this in Kud that you manage now diminishing also from the light. It's a very important chiddush. That's the word here. So hoyil the ba'ois show you see the ba'ois show who mistapik mimeno. That moment that you are taking away oil. Mechabik tzas. It's not taking it away in Gansen. Not that the good is you're making it go out in 5 minutes. You're diminishing. The light becomes a little bit becomes a little bit less strong. You can't kulahai. You can't. It doesn't light so much. You don't enjoy it so much. Because the lo yochla nure kulahai. The light won't give out its total brightness when there's less oil in the candle. That's what he's saying here. Therefore, it looks like it's kivui because that thing itself. This figure a candle, candilo shel shaiva, a candle of wax, because a candle from wax to do what? To cut half of the bottom of the candle of wax, and it should not light it so full. By the oil, you can take out a little bit of the oil. By the wax, you could. Why? That moment you're cutting, you're not affecting at all the fire, the brightness of the fire. You don't make weaker at all. Even though you guide them that later on, it's not going to light for a long time, but a shorter time. So ligrem kivuya is shari, to be goydem, extinguishing is allowed. And I just tells you how to cut the wax candle. The daf kelachtich is only take fire and like put a fire in the middle of the candle that it should split the candle into two. Not with a knife. Why not? Why not? This is why not. A little bit why. Avo besakin osur. A little bit of kulam according to everyone. We're going to see this later. Tackle in Lamed Beis. The kama masisin choitcha beur befi shteinedis. Because then, when you're putting a fire, it looks like also at least I'm lighting something. Why? Because when you put fire there, you light the other part of the wick. like you have a candle has 2 wicks and 2 sides, so it could be looked at as you're lighting up another.
You might light it, and then how are you going to put it out?
Okay, so how you technically going to be cutting it? That's been lamed base. Yeah. But the eight telling you, but the could have tried to bring out for
What's
years.
wrong with cutting?
To cut a candle.
Yeah.
Okay, so like we said, lachtich kelim also shouldn't just go tikkun keli. I think we'll see also even a wick, even the wicks of the candle that's too long on Yom Tov, you can't cut them. You can't cut them to make it. We'll see in the next sugya if this charcoal on top of the wicks, which is going to make the fire that's lit from the candle not so strong. You're allowed to take off that charcoal, that ashes, in order to enhance the light of the fire. But stam, if there's a candle that was not lit yet, and it's a long wick, the candle is called tikkun mana. All kind you're attacking the mana. You're smoothing it out and making it tikkun mana. Okay, so we'll stop over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice job.
I think this style actually.
We're gonna go slower.
This is We're learning the Gemara, the Asher Tesis. Nicht, you know what I'm saying?
No problems.
I think it's more geschmack. No, what do you guys think?
Okay, Reef and Rambam, they're the ones to say you don't need Eretz Hashir to light candles. On Yom
That's only
Tov for
Taisvis.
Shabbos.
So it's only Taisvis, yeah?
Huh?
So it's only Taisvis.
I
You
don't know.
don't need
I
what?
can't say.
You don't need what? You don't need to mention.
You don't need an Erev Tafshirim in order to be provided to light candles on Yom Tov for Shabbos.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But they learned from Rav Shuna. Did make an Erev make light only one candle? He didn't say.
For one.
He did not make an Erev make light only one candle. It's special.
But for more candles, he says
really
about if you want to light more candles.
It doesn't specify making only one candle, as it specifies with cooking and baking. That's learning from our. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's specified.
Okay. He said they read the Rosh and Ran and Tosos. They all say it's only one candle.
Okay. If you didn't make a issue. Yeah. All right. Say that. End session.
All right, my dear. Thank you very much. It was very interesting.
Stoff of us.